Everybody turn your mics on if you need them.
Well, if you need.
You're gonna have to say hello. There you go. We'll try this again. Good afternoon, everybody. This is the meeting of the Woodland Park Board of Review. It is 3:30 p.m. on Thursday, May the 15th, 2025. Madam Director, would you call roll, please?
Sure. Vice Chair Carpenter,
Here.
Chair, Jeff Cahill.
Here.
Jeff Smith is absent. Martine Vogel.
Here.
Cole Swanson
Here.
and Chair McVicker.
Here. Everybody would please stand up and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you are an honorably discharged veteran, you may salute instead of putting your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. First agenda item that we have to discuss and vote on is the approval of the minute meetings from our last meeting back in January the 16th.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend we approve the minutes.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the minute meetings from January 16th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes are approved. We have no consent items. We have no complaints to discuss. Brings us to the meat of the matter. Our variance or appeal hearings for variance 2025-01, B as in Bravo. So I see some unfamiliar faces sitting here in the audience. Thank you for coming. Would you take a moment to introduce yourselves, please?
We need them to come to either sit at the table with the microphone or to talk from the podium so
thank
that
Why don't you come to the table?
their comments will
Leslie?
be recorded. So thank you.
Thank you for catching that.
I'm not sure how long the cord is on that microphone. Kyle, you want to grab the other one off the podium too? I think it's hot right now. Yep. Before you clunk it on the table.
And Danny, you'll have to push that the button to make it green. Yeah,
There you go.
There
You got it.
Oh,
It's
thank you.
green.
I'm Dennis Blevins, my wife Levon Blevins.
And
Kyle Lewis.
you're with Hardcastle.
Yes, sir. I'm the general manager.
Okay. So the first person was the homeowner and his wife, and the second person is the general manager of Hardcastle. We're going to let you guys go first.
So we are trying to get a variance to install a garage unit heater in Mr. Blevins' garage. So they can have a warmer car in the wintertime. His wife can bring flowers in and just have a more comfortable garage.
Mr. Blevins, Ms. Blevins. you have-
Yeah, it's that simple. Nothing more than I have a shop behind my house that I park my Tahoe. So the garage is my wife's and she parks her car in there. Does get real cold during the winter time. We have an elliptical in there she likes to use, but cannot during the winter. So it's just too cold.
Okay.
And we were thinking that if we can put a heater in there, it'll help just kind of keep her car a little bit warmer when she leaves during the winter time, as well as we would probably put some shelving up. She likes flowers and probably put up some shelves so that she can bring some flowers in for the winter into the garage. So it's just,
Okay.
it's basically that simple, just
Thank
to warm her garage up.
Thank you. So to make sure everybody that can vote here today is on the same page, I'm going to read the request for variance. It's a request of a variance to table R 402.1.3 of the 2021 International Energy Conservation Code and as amended by RBC, that's Regional Building Code, the Pikes Peak Regional Building Department, 308.4.18 of the 2023 PPRBD code to omit the garage installation and heat loss calculation requirements for installation of a natural gas fueled heating unit in the owner's residential attached garage. The Blevins home was issued a certificate of occupancy in 1982. And that brings up my first question. Are you the original owner?
No.
When did you buy it, sir?
And we rented it for a couple of years, then we bought it from the Sturmans in
Okay.
2013 or 14, 2014, I believe it was. We've
Okay.
been living there since 2011. We rented it from Sturman.
Okay,
That house had a swimming pool in it, right?
It did.
Okay.
That's the house.
Is
Yeah, with all
is
the
the
sky-
garage insulated?
It, part of it is, but mostly not. That's one reason why it gets so cold. Is, and I saw an email in which it said something to the fact that there's been drywall removed. We haven't removed anything. There was never any drywall in it. The rafters are open where there's some boards and stuff laying up in the rafters. We have some closet space in there, but it's never really been drywalled or insulated to speak of, no.
And
And that's
Mr.
another reason why it gets so cold.
Chair, if you don't mind, I'd like to share screen and then we can go through, there was a substantial number of pictures in your packet.
yes,
The property owner can take us through those. Sounds like you might find that helpful today.
yeah, I printed some of those off and I'm sure other people here have looked at those pictures.
That's too bad.
I just printed off some key ones.
Okay.
So, Madam Director, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to start with this is a picture showing the location of the property there along the road. Hang on, this is a PDF as opposed to PowerPoint. I got to figure out what I'm doing. Which button do I click? This. Sorry. Dad burn it. I want to, there's my little thing. Oops, too much. We'll get you Scott up here in just a minute. I apologize.
And I forgot to ask while Karen is getting this working to her satisfaction. Is there anybody that has called in via Zoom to this call?
No.
No,
When I was,
I was looking at our media operator back there
Okay, I didn't know who you were looking at.
because he knows if somebody comes in via Zoom.
yeah. So I will let you guys, I'll just scroll for you. You just tell me when, so.
Well, that's our garage. That's her Jeep that's parked inside there. You can see the two windows on the south side. So if we can put some flowers underneath there. Back in that corner in front of the Jeep is kind of where we'd like the heater to be put in. We do not use the small little garage door on the right side there. It's really junky, the one, but it is clean. We've been working on it this spring.
It looks a lot better now.
Yeah.
Could
so
I
it's-
interrupt you to get perspective on this, sir?
Sure.
Pardon me. What's the date or time frame of these pictures? When were they taken?
We just took these pictures within the last week,
All the pictures in the package were taken in the last week.
no more than 2 weeks, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that little room back in the back there is our boiler room that the Hardcastle's installed for us. The wall there to the right, which maybe we'll see some pictures, is actually a concrete block wall. That goes about halfway up the wall, probably, I don't know, 6, 7 feet, 8 feet or so. That door we very seldom use, but it does go out into the garage. But there is a metal door. It should be showing. Let's know.
So that picture right there is where the vent is going to terminate through the roof. That picture is just to reference the garage attached to the home. This is just a closer up, the next picture you're coming to.
I want to stop you right there again, sorry. Garage attached to the home. Was the garage originally present at the time the home got the CO in 1982?
I have no idea. Woods built it, build it, but we've never been able to find original plans. I've even emailed and tried to get a hold of Wood on it. And we've just never been able to find any.
Because in looking at the permit history of the property, there were two permits, neither one of which went to completion for a garage.
So-
Back in the 1980s.
Oh, yeah, okay. I didn't get back that far. When I originally pulled this permit, we were trying to pull it through Teller County Building Department because it's borderline, whether it's PPRBD or Teller. And then it turned out being that it's PPRBD. Therefore, that's when I told the Blevins we do need to get a variance because it's an attached garage. Again, we hardly do these where we have to get variances. So I originally set this variance up through PPRBD at their building department, which was my mistake. And then it was caught, and then we set this one up here. During that time, though, you can look, Teller County does have some permit records still that you can find under Teller County Building if you search permits by address. And then all of the continuing permits are through PPRBD. I'm not aware. I don't know the year where Teller County switched over the in-city permitting and inspection. to
November
PPRBD.
1st, 2013.
That was right before I moved here.
Do you have permits from PPRD on it?
Yes, sir. There's existing permits from PPRBD on this house. There's also existing permits from Teller County.
Yeah, I understand Teller. Because it wasn't in the city until Sturman annexed all of that property and had purchased this and included it.
So we've done work where we permitted it through PPRBD.
Oh, okay, all right. So that exterior wall's drywalled.
It is. It is. And then there in front of the car is a closet. We have a couple closets for storage, but it's up above that drywalling where the ceiling, like I say, it just shows the rafters.
See that, but is that wall insulated, the drywall?
I don't know.
Okay.
I really don't know.
All right.
Have you any interest in insulating it?
Probably not. I just don't see any reason to. Because our plans are just to heat it so it heats up the garage a little bit so she can use it more. But I don't know if I really want to go to the expense of insulating it and drywalling it, doing all that.
But you're hooking up to natural gas? That's the intention?
Yeah, that's the intention. There's a natural gas already there in the garage meant for a heater.
Right.
And so it just came up in conversation. We just put one in.
How frequently do you anticipate having the heat running?
Well, we don't anticipate it running all the time. It's just if she was to go get in the car, or if she was wanting to go out and use the elliptical or something like that, then she might warm the garage up a little bit and go out there and use it. So we don't plan on using the heat completely. Some of it might depend on what flowers she has out there. If we put some flowers out there, I don't know what degree. She's the flower person, I'm not. Yeah, I'll be real honest with you. This sounds like a good idea at the time, but if we do it, fine. If we don't, that's okay too. I mean, it's not that important to us, where if we run into issues, and I just don't plan on spending a whole lot of money into it because I don't plan on fixing it up.
Have you considered a temporary heat source? Like,
Well, no, we could. We'd have to discuss that. Like I say, the only thing is they were out looking at the boiler system, I believe, and we were looking at things. In fact, we installed one of the waterless, tankless what's it called?
Tankless water heater.
Tankless water heater in our house. And that's when we got to looking at it. And that's when we were talking about, well, there's gas lines already set here for a heater. Would you like to heat it up? And we're going, okay. But it just,
Because they do have temp heaters that run on natural gas as well.
I'd like to point out to everybody while we're on this picture, you're looking at the bottom cord of the W trusses there all the way up to the sheeting on the roof. There's no insulation there.
No,
right.
Right.
and we've done many of these.
But they were
All insulated,
all insulated.
except the variance needed to be under the slab insulation.
That's right.
Yes, sir. That's what we're asking for, a variance for lack of insulation all the way around, I guess you could say. That is the existing gas line that's been there,
Ever since we've been there,
yeah, for a long time.
Since 2011.
since 2011. We moved in 2011. It was there before we were there.
Right, but we can only confirm in this meeting
That is,
that it's been there since 2011
That is correct.
because that's when you
that's
moved in.
correct. That's exactly that. And to close up the rafters, I'll be honest with you, I kind of like having those rafters open so I can sometimes use it for storage up there. If I insulate all that, then you got to put in a door and all other kinds of stuff. So
What was the point of this picture, Kyle, if you don't mind?
Sir, I think that picture just kind of got put in there, and that was for when we did another part of a job for him.
Okay,
We have probably over 100 pictures of this customer's property throughout the different times we go there. Everything's time stamped. Every time a technician takes a picture, it saves it automatically to his profile.
So when you, this is Jeff Cahill, out of curiosity, when you pull the bats out and expose those insulated tubes, where do they go to?
Those are water lines, sir.
They are water. In an uninsulated garage.
No, sir, that's in his attic space for his house.
So-
We had to insulate those and take a picture of it to send it to the PPRBD inspector because he wanted verification that we insulated those
so
water
that
lines.
has nothing to do with the heater. They just got
that has
put.
nothing to
That's a
do with it.
different part of the house.
Okay,
Yeah,
Oh.
sorry.
That's
They're-
above our
Well,
business.
just tell us what applies and what doesn't.
That's the door that enters the garage.
Right.
From
And that
the
is a
house.
metal solid door.
Yeah.
That is the mechanical room.
I've got a question on that picture.
Yeah.
This one or the one before?
That one right there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can you zoom in on it?
That's looking at the door that goes into our house, up the steps. into our
Right.
house.
What is that electrical box behind the gun safe?
We have, I don't know how well you knew the Sturmans, but
No.
the Sturmans, a lot of the Sturmans, they have their own handyman do a lot of things. And we have 3 different circuit breaker boxes.
So that is a breaker box.
It is
Okay.
for out in the garage.
Thank
That
you.
is correct. And we have 2 others inside the house.
What does that breaker box control?
What was the question?
What does the breaker
Well, we
box?
have-
Could you get closer, Jim?
I'm sorry, but Jeff Cahill again. I was curious above the gun safe, the breaker box that's exposed and hidden there partially.
Yeah.
I was curious what it controls.
There's electricity inside the garage. We have a freezer inside the garage that's plugged in. There's outlets there as well as lights going into the mechanical room. And then we have lights in the garage. We have our garage door opener that goes to, but basically it just controls the electricity there in the garage. I'm not aware that it has anything to do with anything inside the house itself.
And I don't know that it's pertinent to what we're talking about.
I'm sorry, but
I don't know that it's pertinent to what they're asking for from us.
I'll tell you that in a little bit, but it is.
Okay, all right.
Oops, and that's the end. Oops. Yes, I don't- that one. So that's all there was for pictures, Nick.
Okay. Well, I've got a little bit to say at the end of this, but I'm gonna start with our Mr. Swanson down here. Any comments, questions you have for the
No comments at this time.
Martine?
Yeah, kind of given a little bit that you don't want to spend a lot of money on this, you know, but you also want to be able to heat something. The only thing about here, you're hooking it up to natural gas. I don't know how long you'll end up running it to warm it up where it's warm enough for it to be pleasant for your wife to be, you know, in the garage. But spending money on natural gas, that's an ongoing cost as well. And then you're heating the sky, you're heating everything around because you don't have the insulation. It seems to me that, you know, if you don't want to insulate it, but you want something that you can turn on here and there, something temporary that's, you know, temp heater that, I mean, I was looking, they do have them that.
Do they have blowers on them? I have no idea.
They have some that, I mean, you can go out and look, they hook up to natural gas or propane. And since you have natural gas, maybe you can find something, because maybe then that wouldn't require a variance, but in this
Are those,
case.
are you talking about the ventless natural
Yeah, they're
gas?
like yeah, but it's just I mean, I don't know how long you're turning it on.
The only
It's-
reason I ask is if we hook it into natural gas and run a gas line to it, I still have to pull a permit.
Yeah, see,
Yeah,
and then
that
you
would
may
have to
still,
be, you're talking about a salamander, basically?
yeah, it's just basically some sort of,
Like
yeah,
Yeah.
simple.
kerosene.
I'm trying to figure out how you can do this without, and because ultimately,
Well, and I'll be honest with you, I have not a clue. I've not investigated, I've not gotten other options because this was just kind of a simple thing, and how
yeah,
much we'll use it, I don't know. I
right,
don't know with the unit, if we did get the variance and they put in the heater, how much we'd use it, because I don't know how warm it's gonna get out. You're asking me a lot of questions. I just don't have the answers for it.
right,
And if we don't do that, what we're gonna do, I don't know if we'll do anything. I don't know.
yeah.
This is Jeff
Haven't
K.
thought about it.
This is Jeff Cahill again. I can remember in 2017 when I built my shop addition, the hoops I had to jump through to get R49 in the ceiling, R24, 25 approximately in the walls, and then residential check to calculate the R values and U values of loss of heat through the doors and through the concrete and et cetera. And it was an uphill fight because of the conservation issues that especially Colorado has endeared itself to preserving our natural resources and gas and et cetera. From my observation, just seeing what you want to do, this is analogous to leaving your window open and running your heater. It's a foolish endeavor, just as an objective point of view from a citizen.
Well, I'm not here to fight with anybody. We just thought it was a good idea at the time because it was mentioned to us. So we got a bid on it and we said, yeah, let's go ahead and go with it, and didn't realize all this was gonna, you know,
We just wanted to heat the garage.
we just wanted to heat the garage is all we wanted to do.
This is Derek
I didn't
Carden.
want to put in a space heater. I don't think those are safe for fire. And so I don't know what other options. We haven't talked to any other options. And whether, you know, whether we want to insulate, depending on how much gas it would take and what the expense would be. If we put in the heater without insulating it, I don't know. I don't want to enclose the garage. I like the open beams. Now maybe we can go up on the the roof and insulate it, but I don't even know what that cost is. So I've not investigated this because I didn't realize it was that big of a deal. We were just putting in a heater to get some heat in the garage. It's that simple.
This is Derek. I think a heater in the garage is a great idea. Very practical, but not in that situation. All you need to do is insulate that underneath that bottom cord. I know you don't want to, but that's where it belongs, not up on the top, because then you'd have to do the gables and all that stuff to try and get decent insulation. And it would be hard to get an R30 or above there. But yeah, I think you're just throwing away money and energy with that situation and trying to put a heater in there.
If we did closed cell spray foam insulation on the roof, so he could keep his open rafters and then cut a gable in on the side, would that be acceptable?
Possibly.
No, it would not. I can tell you why, because you have to have an ignition barrier between that heater and the bottom cord of those trusses.
That's why I asked. Thank you, sir.
Which is 5/8 drywall. And
Trying to think.
that would be 3 times more expensive than bats.
Would you require R49 bat insulation on the ceiling then?
I don't know, would we? No, we would not. Go ahead.
John Welton Regional Building. Derek, may I jump in?
Please.
You may save me from saying some of the stuff I'm gonna say. Go ahead.
So again, John Welton Regional Building. The 2021 Energy Code allows for reduction in R value for attached and detached garages as well as sunrooms. Those requirements, in lieu of the R49 requirement for the ceiling, is R24 in the ceiling and R13 in the walls in lieu of R20, essentially, or 13 plus 5 continuous. And you are correct. Yes, originally this variance was submitted directly to us
I'm sorry.
down the hill, and that's fine. My apologies for catching it, having you do a little bit more paperwork. But if this variance were within our jurisdiction outside of Woodland Park, the only variance option really at that point would have been how it was originally applied for when it came into us, was the omission of the slab insulation. Because we were looking for an equally good or better alternative. So using either modeling or heat loss calculations to figure out the trade-offs for that slab insulation means that you might end up needing to do a R15 in the wall and R30 in the lid. The Board of Review at Woodland Park doesn't have a lot of the same criteria that we have for, that our Board of Review is set up under. So here you may not have to, as part of the supporting documentation, the variance, submit that equally good or better alternative. However, I do notice that it is written a little bit differently than when it was originally submitted. Original submission was just to omit the slab insulation. Now the variance coming in, which indicates omission of all the insulation. When we're taking the unconditioned space and turning it into conditioned space, that's when the energy code kicks in. Energy code is going to require that conditioned space to have a building thermal envelope. That is essentially certain components that make up the assembly. So wall, cavity, something that is considered an air barrier. And, as the board has pointed out, one issue that we can easily identify is with open trusses and that heater. I'm assuming it's hot dog.
Yes, sir.
There are certain requirements to clearance to combustibles for that. Not only for the vent itself, but also from an ignition source. which would really make the process difficult if you tried to do a open or closed cell foam insulation. Because now we're adding yet another layer of combustible material in there, where bat insulation itself is not considered combustible. And then, you know, drywall on the ceiling, we have a true separation from that ignition source, if you would,
Can I say something?
please.
So we did plan on, right, that's actually a good picture because that is where we wanted to hang it. We did plan on hanging a piece of 5/8 rock there just because I would never hang a unit heater directly from rafters. Still lacking insulation. I get it. Just to clarify.
I will digress very quickly to the reason why we have to ensure that we are meeting these requirements. We're bound by the state at this point. The state has adopted a statewide energy code. When the regional building department, in conjunction with this board and the city of Woodland Park, did our adoption process, we did it at a very expedited timeframe so that we could get ahead of the state deadline. Even though we did not have to fully go to the state adopted code, we're still bound by the state law, which is we have to implement and enforce an energy code that is no less restrictive than any of the last 3 editions. In this particular case, you're conditioning the space. None of the previous 3 editions allow the omission of wall and ceiling insulation to include slab insulation. But there are ways that you can trade that off, if you will. But none of the last 3 editions of the energy code would allow conditioned space to not have insulation in the wall or the ceiling.
Can we verify, say I went there and I pulled some rock off the walls and we verified we had R15 or R20 in the walls, then we would only have to insulate the roof line or the lid?
John Welton Regional Building. So the code as it is written and adopted right now, you can have down to R13 in the walls. As long as there's R13 in the wall, then all you have to do is insulate the ceiling with R24.
And
And-
drywall. And drywall.
I haven't gotten there yet,
Oh,
but
sorry.
yes. But we do have to have what constitutes a building thermal envelope. So if we're, I guess, in short, if we're wanting to put a permanent heat source in there and condition the space, you're looking at a little bit of insulation work and a little bit of drywall work.
So my other concern is, if you look at page 14, page 23 of the document package, it looks like there is a vented roof ridge along the entire length of that gable roof. Is that correct? Yeah, open that one up, please, Karen.
What was the other page? Page 14 or page what?
And 23. You can see the
23.
roof ridge.
Yes.
So Kyle, when you were there, did you look up and see? So
It's been.
it's vented.
Continuously.
If you don't have that, it'd be easier to consider some of the other possible solutions. But right now, if you put a heat source up there next to the ceiling, hot air rises, it all goes out through
No,
the
that all
vent.
makes sense.
So this is
Sure.
why a lid or ceiling,
Sure.
both terms are interchangeable, has to be done and insulated.
Sure.
Now, when you touch something on a new installation, even if it's old, it has to be brought up to code. So to put this in, it has to have a dedicated branch circuit with either a fuse or a circuit breaker. To your question earlier, if that's the only breaker panel in that garage, we have to meet the space requirements in front of a breaker panel. That's 30 inches wide, 36 inches deep. your gun safe has to be moved. Because it looks like it's almost up against that panel.
It is.
So that has to be brought out a minimum of 3 feet and nothing within a 30-inch width around that panel can be there.
Yeah, and see, and that's where with listening to you, and it all makes sense. It really does. And I understand all that. I'm not a contractor. I just kind of, but it's like all construction projects. You fix one thing, then you find out you got to fix something else, and then you got to fix something else. And I don't know, to me, if it's worth all of that.
Well,
But-
it seems like something should be able to be grandfathered in with these energy, because this house was built. that way.
But you're touching it and adding something, so we have to make sure that life safety isn't compromised.
Sure.
That's for the liability benefit of Kyle, your own home, this board. We don't want to get sued. Well, you approved it and it burned our house down.
Sure.
So we cannot ignore life safety. That's a hard, fast requirement.
Yeah, and we don't want to.
And,
We did plan on tapping into a different breaker box as that one is full.
okay,
But I do agree with you that safe should be moved.
yes,
That thing's 800 pounds.
Only because if I was in there working on that boiler and something happened, I would want to access that real fast.
right. So this, I know what you're saying, ma'am, on grandfathered,
We're not gonna do
and I'm 76, I'm there.
Yeah.
But we cannot ever ignore life safety.
Sure.
We have to have that ignition barrier. We need that thermal barrier because with that vented roof up there, all your heat's going up. You'll never, I guarantee you, almost anything below the output of that hot dog. I believe that's what you've used on other situations here in Woodland,
Yes, sir.
Modine hot dog, right?
Yes, sir. It's the #1
So-
system we install.
Unless you elevate your elliptic machine, you're never gonna get warm down there on that floor. And so if you would like, I can make this offer to you. We can reconvene in 1 month at no extra cost. You can come back with a complete plan to address the deficiencies we've brought up here today. And then we can consider the variance. And
Yeah, I
that's,
don't know.
I don't.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking maybe it might just insulate it, put in the drywall on top, forget the heater. Everything you're saying is you're right. The heat's going up through the ceiling and through the vent. So what would it be like?
and I would not recommend blocking off that ridge vent. Because I looked on your soffits, I didn't see any cutouts for soffit vents. I didn't see a gable vent. And quite honestly, I don't know how combustion air gets into this garage unless you have leaky garage doors. Kyle, is that a fair assumption?
Yes, sir. We were going to pull combustion air from outside.
Pardon?
We were going to pull combustion air from
Okay.
outside.
Where did you get your combustion air for the boiler? It's in that boiler room.
That has 2 6-inch, one high, one low. But that boiler room is completely enclosed on its own, has its own insulation, drywall on both sides, drywall on the ceiling, and it's got a high and low combustion.
Okay.
Therefore, I wouldn't be able to steal from it, unfortunately.
All right. That's why I was asking you. But you size that for the boiler, so that air is already spoken for.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Do I have any objections to letting them think about this and
Oh.
if they want
I don't
to,
know.
we can, at your request, reconvene next month. You don't have to pay another variance fee or anything.
Well, we'll talk to Kyle about it. We'll think
Okay.
about it, but yeah, we understand.
Yeah,
Gives you
I
something,
get it.
gives you something to think about.
as far as grandfathering, there are reduced requirements
Sure.
because it is an existing house.
it.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah. Does it still have a stone shower?
Nope.
It
Yeah.
does.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have running water.
But is it an outhouse or a flush toilet?
Well, you know. I've used the outhouse before. But no, we get it. But we didn't think through all of that stuff. And I guess that's why we do this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
You know,
this is,
because basically you have our backs of things that people like myself, we don't know about to look into. So,
And we have to
this is my
consider-
3rd variance ever living in Colorado, this is the first time we've ever tried to get one where there wasn't even a lid in the garage.
Yeah.
Never even crossed my mind.
Yeah.
By the time Dave said something to me about it, we had already had this set, so it was
Yeah.
paid for, like, might as well go. But this is why we try to do things the right way, right? Then
We appreciate
it, well, and it makes me better as a technician in the future. So
it
where I
will.
don't have to bring a customer all the way down here when they don't have any ceiling or insulation in their garage. So we can be a better company in the future.
It'll save both people time.
Yeah.
You'll know.
This is Jeff Cahill. You have to understand also, we had to be considerate of the next owner.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to note for you that your next meeting would be Thursday, June 19th at 3:30
Okay.
for folks to put it on their calendars.
Thank
June 19th, I'll be in Cincinnati.
Is that not a holiday?
Whatever.
The city of Woodland Park is open that day. Thank you.
We'll
So
see.
for our owner and permit holder, do you have any more questions for us?
No, I don't. I get it. We're all friends here.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Real quick, go around the room. Anybody else have anything else to say on
Nope.
this side?
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Wish you well.
Mr. Welton, Madam Chair?
I think just to be clear for the applicant, you're asking them if they want to pursue this to bring back a clear plan for how all this gets pulled together and
Yes,
looked
ma'am.
at. So based on the issues you've identified today, which would be the access to the breaker box in the garage and insulation in the walls and the ceiling of the garage.
Yeah,
Okay, so
and-
there's
and
like
the
3
chances
points.
Of us doing that's probably not gonna happen, to be real honest with you. But
Okay.
I just wanted
We'll see.
it clear,
Okay.
so everybody's working with
Yeah.
the same expectation.
we leave Sunday for New Orleans. That's the last thing I'm gonna be thinking about.
Well, it'll be warm there. You won't need a
Yeah,
heater.
that's right.
All right, then, completing our agenda, we have no unfinished business, no new business. Open discussion on anything else?
I do want to mention for the record that Sean has been an inspector for me over at interior remodel at the fire station. And it has not gone nearly as well as most of my jobs go. But that he has been very professional and very available and has done a great job.
This is the new inspector.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter, for that vote of confidence in our inspection staff. And yes, I believe we have a very good inspection group covering.
Well, I may have
Woodland
given
Park.
him reason not to behave professionally, but we were both professionals. And he was very good, and I've let him know that.
Thank you for that.
Anything from this side of the room? That being the case, I hereby declare this meeting adjourned.